All right, everybody. Hello and good morning. Welcome to Deep Naked Thoughts with Val. Today I am joined with Dr. Diana James, and I will briefly talk about how I encountered Miss James. We were actually together at a mic drop workshop, and we were tasked with reading a script. And I'm in high school, I took theater. However, I think Dr. James nailed it. I think she had one of the best performances that was given. So we were asked to read from an Alice in Wonderland script. And she was just very animated. She had so much energy. She just had so much presence. And after hearing her read that, I was like, I have to sit down and I have to talk to her. Like, I need to know who she is, what she's about, what her background is. And after seeing her name, I looked her up on LinkedIn because I didn't want to forget her. I didn't want to forget her. Her performance was very memorable. I didn't want to forget. And I emailed her and I just sent her a quick message like, Hi, I'd like to interview you. And she was so kind as to accept the interview. So today I am joined with her. Dr. James, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I would introduce myself. I am a PhD. I am a public speaker. I am an unapologetic advocate for women, and I am a published author. I, I help women navigate an alternative path to leadership when they face a broken corporate ladder.
If you had to describe what you do to a 10-year-old, how would you describe it?
I would describe my career to a 10-year-old. I would say that I get up in front of small and large audiences
Okay.
of women, and I speak to them about how they can become leaders of companies.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I would tell the 10-year-old that, believe it or not, there was a time when women were not allowed to be leaders.
Yeah.
It was discouraged, and they would be penalized if they even tried. And so that wasn't all that long ago, probably before
Mm-hmm.
their time, but not that long ago. And a lot of that has rolled over into today's world. And so women still face a lot of really unique challenges when they try to
Mm-hmm.
become leaders. And I help them find different and unusual ways to become
Okay.
leaders.
Wow, I think we all have a lot to learn from you today. So, audience, it's time to take out the notepads and take notes because I will be taking a lot of notes. So, how did you fall into this career? What happened? And what happened in your childhood or what happened during college? What started this? How did you end up in this position?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, when I was in seventh grade, I was subject to an incredible amount of bullying. Um, it was bad. By today's standards, a lot of kids would have gotten kicked out of school. Um, but one day, our seventh grade English teacher told us that we would have to do a presentation in front of the entire class about any topic we wanted, but we were supposed to demonstrate something. And I chose to demonstrate how this particular paper towel was better than another paper towel at cleaning up messes. And I was terrified because I suspected that when I got up in front of the group of kids, they were going to start throwing harassment at me like they always did. And I got up and I started talking. And when I finished, the room was silent. And then I got a standing ovation from a bunch of
Wow.
kids who, for all intents and purposes, hated me.
Mhm.
um, and it was at that point in time that I knew that this is something I wanted to do.
Wow.
There was no such thing as public speaking back then. This would be in the 1970s. So that wasn't even a viable career option. I may have thought about acting perhaps, but that really wasn't what I wanted to do either. So I put that in the back of my head, and it's always sat there that I would really love to be a public speaker. Throughout my executive career, I've had many opportunities to get up in front of small and large audiences and present as an executive, and I've loved it every time. So at one point in time, I decided that I was going to leave the corporate world
Okay.
and venture off into entrepreneurship. And I thought, boy, this would be a great time to start that public speaking career. But I don't have anything to speak about. I have
Mhm.
nothing that anyone wants to hear. So that drove me to go back to school. I thought if
Okay.
I got a college degree in something, perhaps I would become an expert. So
Next.
at the age of 47, I went to school and got my bachelor's degree and followed it up, and I got my master's degree and followed that up and got my PhD. And my PhD is in leadership, focused on gender equity in the workplace.
Okay.
And now I speak on that.
Wow, that is beautiful. I think all of us definitely need to hear your message. So, um, my background is in psychology. I have a master's in psychology. And before that, my background was in martial arts. And so female are very, I'm represented in that field mostly because it's a male dominated sport and very male dominated led. And so from a very young age, my dad, he wanted me to learn martial arts. He mostly like how to defend myself and just teach me some discipline and make me a little bit tougher because I was a very sensitive kid. So I can definitely relate. And as I was growing up, women, girls, they wanted me to teach them or mentor them or coach them. And so I've been able to lead in that way. But now that I am, starting the podcast or figuring out my way through entrepreneurship, I see how we need leaders like yourself because it's like, well, I've never done this, or I've never heard about this, or I've never encountered this term, or I don't know who to look to, or how, I guess I don't have a leader that I can look to in this arena or in this area. And so I think many women need the words you were going to say. I guess just to follow up, what is step one, or what would you say to anyone wanting to lead or wanting to be an entrepreneur, or just any women in the audience listening right now? What is something they need to learn?
I would say the very first thing is trust your gut.
Okay.
I entered the business world 30 plus years ago. And when I did, there were very few women leaders for me to latch on to as mentors or to follow their actions. And I really had to find my own way. There was no such thing as DEI back then. In fact, there really wasn't even a forum for women to use that were sexually harassed on the job, which I could give you a whole nother book on that topic alone of the type of
Mm-hmm.
sexual harassment that I faced. I had people laugh at me when I said I wanted to make the same amount of money as a man for the same job.
Mm-hmm.
I had people look me in the eye and say, "You're never going to get any higher in this company than you are because you're a girl."
Wow.
That sounds foreign to young people today, but it really wasn't that long ago. 1988, women couldn't get a business loan without a man.
Wow. Wow.
Nope. You had to have a husband, a father, or even a son could come and help you get a business loan, but a woman could not get one by herself.
Wow.
That's not that long ago. And then in 2009, the Lilly
Mm-hmm.
Ledbetter Act came into play, which was an opportunity for women to really sue to get equal pay.
Mm-hmm.
2009. That's not that
Yeah, it's
long
not
ago.
real. You don't. Yeah.
So, to hear of these things, it sounds like, oh, it must have been back in the dark ages, but it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dealt with all of those issues on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided to pick the topic that I would focus on to help women in my public speaking career, this was near and dear to my heart. I thought, I don't want any young women today to have to struggle the way I did by myself. And so I would tell women today, the first thing you need to do is trust your gut. If you think that you're a leader, if you think that you can be a leader, you can and you will. So trust your gut first and foremost. Don't listen to what anybody else has to say.
Okay. So I guess just speak a little bit more on that. So currently I work in the recruiting industry. So I recruit people to work for the company that I work for as a tech or a therapist or supervisor. Because I didn't go all the way and I didn't become that role, but I know the job and I can understand the job and I know what we need to do to fire. And so I'm often coaching women through their pay. And I've seen this, and you can tell me what you think. But I've seen that whenever I interview mostly men, they usually just have a number. And I don't know why. And I mean, I haven't taken any data on it. So this is just what I've observed. Like they'll just say a number, like, yeah, like 25, 26. Like they just don't think about it much. They just throw a number out and just like hope for the best. And then like, but they're very like, I would say like ballsy or daring. Like they don't think twice about it. They just throw it out and you're just like, okay. And then with women or with the women I've interviewed, they tend to be like, well, like, I don't know. I've never been in this position or like, it's a little bit different because then they leave it up to me. So I usually try to coach them and I'll say, okay, well, just to be transparent, like let's look at the salary rate in Mexico. Let's see at your education. Let's see where you're starting at. Let's see if you have any like education credits or your experience. And I really try to like coach them through the process and let them give me an answer versus me just give just whatever Val decides or feels like that day and just kind of putting the ball in their court. But I've mostly had to coach women through their hey. Um, so do you have any advice or anything that sounds similar or any, have
Yeah,
you observed the same?
there's two key factors there that are at play that are unique for women.
Okay.
The first one is applying for a job. Women will often believe that if they can't check off every box on the job description, they're not going to apply for the job.
Yeah.
Whereas men, if they think they can check off one or two, they'll apply. And it's a psychological factor where we feel like we have to meet every single criteria before we're qualified. And what I tell women right now, get over it. If you can
Mhm.
check off one or two box and you think that you're smart enough to learn the others, apply for the job. First and
Yes.
foremost, just go. What's the worst that could happen? You get the experience at an interview and they tell you no. No
Yeah,
one's going to die
absolutely.
over that. The second is negotiation. And that's a socialization issue. Generally speaking, as women are growing up and maturing, they're told to be quiet,
Mhm.
be accepting,
Mhm.
smile pretty.
Mhm.
Even think about the way we're taught to take up space. We're told to cross our legs and fold our hands in our lap. Men
Mhm.
don't do that. They spread out.
Yeah.
They take
Yeah.
up space. And so the same thing comes with negotiation. They're not told to inhibit what they want or to
Mhm.
ask for anything less. So I suggest that women practice that skill. It is a skill. You can call it negotiation. You can call it self-advocacy. It's actually there's a segment in my book that covers just that information. And I often tell women, practice. Practice makes perfect. Look in a mirror. Practice saying yes or no to people. We don't tend to like to say no because we think then people won't like us.
Yeah.
So, watch the men that are around you. If you see a man who has no hesitancy saying no to people or being aggressive, do what he does. Mirror his behavior. Mirroring is a really great way to get yourself into that situation until it becomes natural to you.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's a really great tip for anyone that's listening. Mirroring, like Dr. James is talking about, is like doing what others are doing. So I don't know, I don't have any other way of explaining it. But I have a coach, and I was just very lucky. I genuinely believe that I was just very lucky to be born at the time that I was and with the people that helped me grow up. But I had a martial arts coach and he actually coaches women. And he, like one of the words that he removes from the vocabulary is sorry. And he says that women on average tend to be more apologetic. And because they say the word sorry, they automatically assume fault. Unless you did something that was wrong, you shouldn't apologize. But people will say like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't ask you for a favor." Like, "Sorry, have you seen this?" Sorry, like everything is like sorry and then whatever you need. And he's like, one of the things like, no, unless you did something wrong, you're just not apologizing. And so he quickly removed that word from my vocabulary. And so again, like I'm just very lucky that I had a very present father and very lucky that I had a coach that was like, no, like we're gonna build strong women here. But yes, at first I felt very uncomfortable and I think at when I entered the workspace, I was very young. I was about 18, 19, and I had all of the coaching that my coach had. Some of the women they were behaving, and especially in psychology, I think it is oftentimes very female-led, or at least in my field. And so I would ask for the raise, or I would ask for whatever fill in the blank. And sometimes I just wouldn't get it. And I was wondering, like, is it a skill deficit? Do I just not have the skills to ask for this? Or is it like a me thing? Or am I just too young? Or am I like, there's so many questions that are going on. And I'm wondering, like, is it a personality thing? Like, do they just not like me? Am I not skilled enough? Like, what's going on? Did you ever encounter some of those things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I say we, myself, I've done this a lot in the past, is being afraid of the silence.
Okay.
We ask for something, and then if we don't hear yes right away, we start yammering away.
Mhm.
Shut up and be okay with the silence. It's a power play game. If my boss says something like to you, do you think you deserve a raise? Yes, I do. In fact, I believe that I should receive 10%. And then there's radio silence. As women, we get uncomfortable with the silence because we think that it's a negative, and we want to fill the silence, and we start to backpedal, or we start to question, did I say something wrong? Do they not like me? Am I not good enough? Let all of that go. I can guarantee you that the men that are in the same position aren't thinking those thoughts, and they're not filling the silence. Just sit there and wait until that person tells you, no, I'm not going to give you 10%, and be prepared with the second yes. You may not
Okay.
get the first yes, but be prepared for a second yes. So if they say, no, I'm not going to give you a 10%, already know in your mind what your worth is and what you'll accept as a second yes. Okay, 10% might be a bit of a reach today. Let's start with 7%, and let's agree that in 6 months, we'll reconvene and look at how I'm doing on the job. And if we both agree at that time that I'm doing the job well, we'll then move it to 10%. How does that sound to you? Boom, throw it right back at him. So be prepared with the second yes. What is it that you will accept? And sometimes it's not money. For a lot of us, it's freedom. Can I work from home 3 days a week instead of 2 days a week? Or maybe you're in the office 100% and you'd like to work Monday through Thursday and Fridays at home. There's a lot of different ways to gain value other than just asking for cash.
Okay, that sounds really actionable. For anybody that's listening, sounds like things that you're kind of coaching us through. It sounds very actionable, so people take notes on like how to ask for a raise. So would you say, and this is usually I've changed my strategy of how I've gone about it, and I would like some feedback. So mostly just saying like, hi, this is all the things that I'm doing. I'm in charge of leading social media. I'm in charge of leading recruiting. I feel like I've been doing a really great job, and I'm open to feedback because I don't believe that my job is ever perfect. I think I could do better, but I'm open to feedback. And I would like to ask for a raise. If not now, what do I do? What do I need to do to get there? That way you can tell me what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. But it's not maybe like, it might not be a yes today, but like, what can I do to get that yes in like 3 months or 6 months? Because I really, really want to raise.
Yeah. The first thing I would suggest that you do is take out any emotion. I
Okay.
heard the word feel, think, and those types of things a couple times.
Okay.
You don't feel anything. You don't think anything. You know.
Okay.
I do this, 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 and this.
Okay.
Based on comparable research that I've done in the marketplace for this particular job, it appears that I should be increasing my pay by X%. How do you feel about that? Boom, you're throwing it back at them. Not, I think I should, or if not now, or I feel like I can't. Present facts. So do
Okay.
the research. There are all sorts of tools out there now with the internet that can help you find, what your job is worth in other areas and other parts of the country, even in your own area, that type of thing. And if you feel like that you're not being compensated appropriately, if it's that you are being appropriately compensated, but perhaps you're looking for a job change. You want to get promoted to a different position because you think you're ready for that. Walk in and say, I'm looking at the job description for X job. I have the skills that are necessary for this job. What do you think about that? Throw it back at them. Make them tell you why you're not qualified for that. And then if they're able to just say why you're not qualified, say, well, then what can we, you and them, do to get me ready for that job? Because then it puts a lot of the onus of it on them, and it's not on all just you to change or to grow or to learn anything like that. Constantly be putting it back in their lap and always approach it from a position of knowledge and facts.
Okay, okay. Wow, that was very powerful. I really, really like that. I do have a question, and this goes back to um, probably my mother. And so I will give you some context. My mom is a very, she's in her 50s, mid 50s, Hispanic female. And whenever I've approached her about getting like a raise or changing position, I could always go to maybe like my dad or my coach. And again, like having to go to like men to coach me through this. But whenever I would go to my mom, she would say things like, oh, just be grateful, or like, oh, don't ask for more than like they can give out. Just really like, oh, you should be grateful. And I've heard that from not just my mom, but it's kind of like, just be grateful you have a job, or like, oh, just be grateful. I'm like, well, I am grateful. I just know I work really hard and I think I deserve more. So when have you encountered that, or just be grateful? Just, I don't know why that's like a motto. Just be grateful. I'm like, I am grateful, but grateful is not helping me pay my bills right now.
Absolutely. In fact, I have a chapter in my most recent book.
Oh, show us the
There's a
book.
transcript right here. Should be publishing next month. So I'm expecting a published release date in September. The name of the book is The Secret Stairs, by the way. And there's a chapter in my book where I talk about how very early in my career, I was advancing very quickly in this one particular company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going in for an annual review, at which
Mm-hmm.
point I intended to ask for a raise.
Okay.
And the night before, I was speaking to my mother on the phone, and I told my mother that I was going to do that. You should just be grateful. That's exactly what she said to me.
Hmm.
You shouldn't ask for a raise. You're just a girl without a college degree. You should be grateful for what you have already. She didn't mean anything ill.
Yeah.
It was her conditioning from
Yeah.
her era. I really wouldn't ever recommend that a younger woman today who's seeking advice on advancing her career seek out the advice from a woman who's older than her, unless that woman is occupying or has occupied a position that she's looking to occupy. So my mother was a stay-at-home mom. She had a nursing degree. She was an RN. And as soon as she got married at the age of 23, she had to quit her job because that's what was expected. You could not work and have a career, and have a family at the same time back then. So it was expected that she would put that nursing degree on a shelf and stay home and have children. And so for her to conceptualize, give me even positive feedback or any understanding on what it was I was aspiring to do, it wasn't within her realm of consciousness. She was still back in the time when women could not work if they were married. They could not, if they got pregnant and they were working, they would be fired, and that was okay. Yeah. If you're going to bounce an idea off of a woman about stuff like that, make sure it's a woman who has achieved the type of success that you're looking to achieve, because then she can give you rational advice on it. But going to mom or an aunt or a grandma, or to even just, a woman who's just not been there and done that, it might just not be in their comfort zone to be able
Yeah.
to support you that way. They just don't
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
I completely agree. There's this quote, and I live my life a lot by quotes. I like words. But it says, you wouldn't ask a poor person for advice on how to get rich. And the way I'm kind of interpreting it right now, it's like, you wouldn't ask someone on like how to get a raise or how to be in that position if they haven't been there. And so again, I think that's why it's so powerful and so important that we have you on today. It's because we're gonna learn so much. But no, I completely agree. I think after that, I really saw my mom in a different light, and I saw like that for a female of her age, like she really was just grateful that somebody would employ her, or she really was like she really did believe that message, and she really was just grateful. But I also saw that she didn't reach for more, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I have to reach for more because, like, I'm the only one supporting myself at right now, or at that time. At that time.
Yep.
Um.
That's
So,
exactly right. They
so,
love
Doctor.
you and they're trying to protect you. but
Yeah.
but it's really not that helpful in that particular situation.
Yeah, Dr. James. So, why is this group so important to you, or why did you decide to champion women, especially in the workforce, or coach women in the workforce? Why did this become so important to you?
Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, it's near and dear to my heart because I've lived every aspect of this type of subjugation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was the lone woman. There was a period of time where I worked for a company and we went public. We had a public IPO. And upon becoming public, we went to where the board of directors were going to be held up in New York. And we went into their big New York high rise building and we were in the boardroom. I was the only woman in the boardroom.
Okay.
And we were talking about business and what have you. And then they said, all right, we're going to take a 10-minute bathroom break. And we all left the boardroom and the men went down the hall that way. And I'm looking around for the women's restroom. I don't see one. So I walked over to one of the secretaries, administrative assistants, whatever you wanted to call her at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I said, where's the ladies' restroom? And she said, that's down the floor.
Huh.
So the executive level of the building didn't even have a women's restroom.
Wow.
Yeah, that tells you how much they expected us to inhabit that world. They really didn't. Um, and like I said, I dealt with all of those types of things for years and years and years, and I had no other women to latch onto for assistance in this area. So I told myself that one day I would pay it back.
Wow.
And this is my opportunity to pay back. Another reason, I have a daughter who is also a very successful businesswoman in her own right. But I had to question whether or not she was entering a world or a business environment that was really any better than what I had experienced 30 years earlier,
Wow.
which is why I chose to conduct the research that I did. My research, I chose to do a qualitative research study, a phenomenological research, which basically interviews people about a particular phenomenon. And I
Mm-hmm.
chose to interview women in the workplace and
Mm-hmm.
ask them whether or not the companies they worked for were offering any efforts or interventions to help them advance in their leadership careers. And if the companies were helping them, how were those efforts being received? And I'll give you the cliff notes. My research found that the companies weren't offering any valuable assistance to these women, and they all did it on their own, much like what I had to do. So I gathered their stories and compiled it into data, and I married it with my own experiences. And that's what I teach to women today is how did we make it to senior leadership without the world of DEI to support us, especially in
Mm-hmm.
today's world where DEI is disappearing as a vernacular entirely. You know,
Wow.
companies like Pepsi and um, even Victoria's Secret, you know, large corporations are removing DEI language from their companies completely because it's the popular thing to do now. The president of the United States even vowed on his inaugural address that he was going to remove the what did he want to call it? The negative results of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he said that it was a curse on the public and private lives of the people. So we're not getting much support there anymore, if we ever did. And it's my opportunity to step in where those programs are lacking.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That is so much. I'm trying to make sense of it all and just figure out like how we move forward. I'm thinking one day I am gonna have a company or I am gonna be an entrepreneur. And one thing that I want to do for my employees is know that not all of them are going to stay there. So give them the tools that they need to wherever they go. It's like, well, I was hired by Val, and when I was employed by her, I got to do all of these things and I got to learn all of these things that help me move or launch myself to another place. But give them those tools. But sometimes and this is an I feel like statement, Dr. Gibbs. I feel like the work only prepares you for the work that you are doing, and it doesn't prepare you to like shift or move, or there's not a lot of opportunities for advancement. And so you just feel like you're in this role, and that's the role you've been prepared to do. And there's nothing else that you can move into, or like how do you pivot? How do you transition to a new career if the career you currently have is not helping you move elsewhere? And so I think that's where people feel stuck. It's like, well, like these are the skills that I have. Well, this is all I know how to do. Well, how am I going to get a career in fill in the blank if I don't have those skills? And if I don't have those skills, how am I going to apply? So I guess I just won't. So I guess I'll just stay here. So I guess I'll just keep making this amount of money and hope for the best. And maybe in a year they'll be nice. So it's just like all these, I hope. And so what could companies do better for their employees? What is like something actionable that companies could do for their employees?
I think that's a great question. And I believe what's happening there is a difference between mentoring and sponsoring.
Okay.
In the business world, historically, we've heard a lot about mentorships. Companies will assign a junior person a senior mentor. And it's that mentor's job to teach the mentee, if you will, how to do their job better, how to navigate the company, how to gain a certain skill set. In my research, both with the women that I interviewed, in my own personal experience, as well as the cumulative data that I had to read as a part of my dissertation, mentorships don't work. They require entirely too much time to forge a mentor-mentee relationship. It takes months, if not years, for a mentor and a mentee to get to know each other well enough that they can transmit information back and forth comfortably. It takes a lot of time to learn how certain people learn and how they hear so that they can communicate back and forth. And they're usually teaching someone how to do the job they're doing better, just like you said. I'm learning more about the job I have, not the job I want. What we're finding today is there's a process called sponsorship that is replacing mentorship. Sponsors don't require all of that one-on-one time. It's much less one-on-one. The sponsor doesn't need to learn how Val communicates. I don't need to learn how Val works. I don't need to learn what Val needs to know. Those types of things. What I need to know is, what does Val do? What does she do well? And what does she want to do? And then it's my job as your sponsor to get you into those places. So I heard one woman describe it as, my mentor, how did she say that? My mentor talks to me and my sponsor talks about me. So a mentor teaches you something. As a sponsor, I'd say, hey, Val, come with me to the boardroom today. I want you to see what goes on in there. And I'm getting you in front of the people that need to see you in action. So a sponsor is kind of like your promoter, if you will. Maybe I'm in a meeting and they are of senior executives and we're talking about a particular new division that we're looking to create. It would be my job as your sponsor to say, I'd like to suggest that Val be brought into that project at that level. Because what I've seen from the young lady is that she's more than qualified. I've seen her do this, this, and this. What do you guys think? So a sponsor gets you into the rooms that you can't get yourself into. And they promote you in the places where you otherwise might not be heard. So I think companies need to stop pairing mentor and mentees and instead put people with a sponsor. Especially because, as you know, In a lot of these companies, there aren't enough women mentors to go around.
Mhm.
When I was there were no women in higher
Mhm.
positions than me.
Mhm.
And so they just didn't think about pairing me with anyone. Instead, I sought out my own sponsors. I
Mhm.
found men who I trusted
Mhm.
that I said, hey, if you're in a room, this is what I'm looking to do one day. And you hear them
Mhm.
talking about that, bring my name up or bring me in the room. And they did.
Wow.
So, yeah, sponsorship over mentorship. I think that's a huge step that companies can take to help people that are aspiring to grow within an organization, or to, if nothing else, get them the skills they need to move on and move up. I also think that people that are in charge of teams, I've had small teams, I've had very large teams. And I always treated the people on my team as if I was training them to do my job, not training them to do their job.
Mhm.
I always assumed if they're working for me, they know how to do their job. I
Mhm.
was training them to take my job.
Mhm.
Because if I didn't teach them how to take my job, I could never move on.
Yeah.
But if I've trained Val how to do my job, then I can get promoted. And the company doesn't have to worry about, oh no, how are we going to fill Diana's position? Val's ready to go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So teach the people below you
Okay.
how to do your job, not
Okay.
how to do their job.
I like that a lot. And I was listening to another podcast, and I believe it was Diary of the CEO. And it was something like if you leave and everything breaks, then you didn't build a strong enough team. The team should be able to run itself, and you just check up on it, see what we're doing good, what we're not doing good, and just I don't want to say dictate, but just kind of bleed. But the team should be self-sufficient. But if you have to be there, if you can't step away, if you can't leave, then then you didn't really do a good enough job because you can't do anything else.
Right.
You can't travel and go talk to that other person or network because the team needs you so much. And so I really like what you're saying. I really do like that. So what progress have we made, or what are some things that you are seeing that have changed since you've entered the workforce or since you started advocating fully? What progress have we made?
Probably the largest thing that I've discovered is the plethora of organizations that have been developed to support women. So
Okay.
you might be in an industry where there aren't any other women that can help you, in a company where you're one of few senior executives or people aspiring to that level. Look outside your company. There are so many women's leadership organizations out there full of women like myself who've been there, done that are looking to now pay it back and to pay it forward and help younger people learn what they need to do. Um, Yesterday, those are the kinds of organizations I like to speak to, as a matter of fact. I love to get up in front of women's organizations and share the information that I know so that they can pass it on to the people that they're helping. Um, so yeah, there's a lot more of that. There wasn't anything like that when I was younger. Absolutely not. Like I said, there wasn't even HR departments that were available to help defend you when you were subjected to horrible and awful things. Um, so yeah, at least there's at least women's organizations out there now that you can find virtually or right in your own town where they'll get together and they'll help you learn skills, learn tactics, support you, those types of things. And I encourage young women take advantage of those. There's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of experience out there. Go and get it.
Dr. James, when you started, success changed for you. How do you define success? Oftentimes, I think success is measured by money or how much we make, or the position we hold, or just quality of like the position, like do we enjoy what we're doing? How do you define success? When you're coaching women, do you ask them what do you want to do? Do you want to make more money? Do you want a different position? Do you want to work less? Like, how do you personally define success? And for any women listeners, when they are aiming, because I always say like, well, you gotta know about what you're aiming. Are you aiming for less time off, more pay, like more privileges? Like, how do you define success, and how do you uh, coach women to find their success?
Yeah. My definition of success has changed over time as my needs have changed. Early in my career, success was tied to financial. It was tied to money without question. The more money I made, the more successful I thought I was. I was in that period of acquisition, bigger houses, fancier cars, all that kind of stuff. That meant success to me. Uh, then there was a period of time where success was all about the more freedom that I had.
Yeah.
The ability to make my own schedule, to make my own hours, be in contact with the people I wanted, and not have the clients I didn't want. To be able to fire a client is a very freeing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I felt like, we had to have all the clients, whether we liked them or not, whether they were a good fit or not, because they brought in money. After a
Mm-hmm.
period of time, it was success was for me being able to tell someone, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit. So that my day was full of working with people that I felt were on the same page as myself. Um, then success became a little bit more about making an impact.
Okay.
And I'd say that I'm kind of in that area right now. I'd say that that's the season of life that I'm in today, is when somebody says, wow, that helped me so much,
Mm-hmm.
or you changed my life. I've been in that season now for a good 10 years, where having people tell me that I positively impacted their life or made it better in some way, that's success to me. So it's moved more from an acquisition to a servant nature. Similarly, my style of leadership has
Mm-hmm.
changed over time. There were periods of time where I was very much about an excuse me, author, yeah, I'm speaking wrong, authoritarian um, type of leadership. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I needed to be very strict and very
Mm-hmm.
definitive, and checks and balances. Um, Authoritarian, that's what I was trying to spit out. And then there was a period of time where, and I'm not so proud of it, I was more in what's called an LMX style of leadership member exchange, where um, it was more about clicks, if you will. I seemed to work better with the people that liked me. We were more of a group. And if you weren't part of my group, you didn't get as much of Diana as you probably should have gotten. It was more of that leader membership exchange. I helped them and they helped me. So it's how are we going to help each other, as opposed to just offering myself to others. Then
Mm-hmm.
I went through a period of time where it was all about servant leadership. I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't care about how I came out. I only cared about how my people did.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
and 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 that wasn't necessarily the best type of leadership for me either, because then I let myself suffer. I wasn't taking care of Diana. I was too busy taking care of everyone else. Um, Now I think I'm probably more an authentic leadership, where
Okay.
I'm me
Mm-hmm.
and you get me.
Mm-hmm.
And 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 situational leadership, I think I'm a marriage of the two. Situational leadership is where a leader molds themselves to the person they're leading and the situation they're in. So I might be working with someone who really responds well to tough coaching,
Mm-hmm.
so I give them tough coaching, straight language. Another person I'm coaching at the same time might be much more sensitive, where I have to help nurture them a little bit more. So I
Mm-hmm.
become more nurturing. So I'm more authentic and situational. I'm myself in both situations, but I try to give that person what they need in that situation, as opposed to just one type of leadership fits all.
Mm-hmm. Wow. No, I think that's really, really powerful, and I'm really soaking that in on like what kind of leader I want to be, and who I am because I think I've always been a really coachable person. I feel like I have so many athletic things. I work well in groups. I know and I understand my role, but in developing myself as a leader, when it comes time to lead an employee or someone that hey, I need to get this done, like how do I want to lead? And I think that authentic leader is where I'm leaning more towards. I don't have to become this person or this authoritarian or this, like, I can be myself and still give really good feedback and still lead. And so I'm learning a lot. Would like to know more about your journey and how you decided to pursue public speaking. Again, I think you're doing so much. Like you worked, you've helped women, you're writing your book, which again is a great testament of just you giving, like just having resources and giving. But now speaking, deciding to speak. Just tell us about that, like how you decided I'm interested in this, or I want to try public speaking, or maybe you were in a board and it was your turn to speak publicly, and you were like, I think I'm kind of good at this. I want to do more of it. Or how did that happen?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I've always loved to get up in front of groups of people and speak. I've always been very, very comfortable with that. Um, I think from a selfish aspect, there's a lot of great feedback instantaneously. When you're working one-on-one, sometimes things come over time, but you're in front of an audience of 500 people and they're applauding at the end. It's a great rush. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that selfish aspect. But I also think it's trying to make the most impact that I can this point in time in my life. I'm not getting any younger. I may look very young, but I'm not.
You
um,
do, you do.
and I'm trying to think about with the times, I'm losing time here. How can I get in front of the most people at one time? And public speaking audiences are one way. My books are another. I can reach a lot of people at once, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
maybe coaching a team of 5 people in an organization. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot about mass appeal, getting in front of people in the biggest audience to make the most impact that I can,
Mm-hmm.
is really what drives that. Again, from a selfish standpoint, public speaking can take me around the world. I'm
Yeah.
also in that age and point in my life where I have no children at home, no husbands, nothing like that. My company is such that I can run it from anywhere in the world. So if I get a public speaking engagement in Thailand, off to Thailand I go. If I
Oh
get a
my
public
goodness.
speaking
Yeah.
engagement in Southern California, here I come. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an opportunity to experience the world and various cultures that, just really is also a dream. It's living a dream.
Wow, I think that's really brave. I really, really do love that. And I love that for you. I hope that, I don't know, next time I see a post from you, maybe you are in Thailand.
That'd be awesome.
That would be wonderful. So any closing thoughts if you have to talk to your 10-year-old self and you had to tell her of all the things you've done, all the people you've met, the books you've written, what your class is right now, what you're doing. What would she think? What would she say to you? And would she be proud of you?
Well, I think she'd be very proud of me. My 10-year-old self had big, big dreams. Um, Nothing that I ever think I really would do now, but at the time they sounded great. And I let people dampen those dreams. I listened to society, culture, family, friends, associates, organizations, media, tell me all the reasons that I couldn't do those things. Um, and I wish I hadn't listened. Because it took me 55 years then to get to the point, another 55 years on top of that to get to where I really wanted to be. And I might have been able to do it a lot earlier if I just blocked out all the noise. So I think my 10-year-old self would be really excited about the journey I've taken and where I'm at now. Do I regret any of the decisions I made? Absolutely not,
Mm-hmm.
because they've made me uniquely poised
Mhm.
to now get up and speak about the things that I speak about. Um, I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like to, one of the things I learned in my research is that women have to be more flexible than men in order to get to senior leadership. Whether that means we need to be willing to move to a different state or a different country in order to get promotions, whether that means we need to move from marketing to sales and sales to operations or move laterally within an organization. We need to be more flexible in order to get our way to the top. We don't walk a ladder to success that's rung over, rung over, rung. Our ladder looks more like a jungle gym. We kind of have to go all over the place to get to the top. So flexibility is a big key, and I'm not sure where I was going with that. That is one of the things that we've had to do. And had I not experienced all of those different types of leaps and jumps, I wouldn't be able to talk about it today. And I wouldn't be able to advise women on how do you pick up your family and move from Ohio to North Carolina, because that's what your job's asking of you. Um, so I wouldn't regret anything I made. I did make the decision to get married very young and start a family very young because that's what was expected of me. Marriage didn't last, but I have an amazing daughter who is now, like I said, a successful businesswoman, and she owns her own marketing corporation, and she's wildly successful. And so no regrets, but I would tell a young woman today, if she's got a chance to do it differently, block out the noise, listen to yourself, know yourself, um, keep your chin up, and block out all the noise, and read. I
Mhm.
know that sounds like an interesting one. Um, Read everything you can get your hands on. Everything, not just about the industry you're in, not just about the jobs that you want. Read about the jobs you don't. Read about the things, anything. Learn, learn, learn. Never stop learning, because that adds to your value. Every single time you take in new information, you've added to your value.
Perfect. Anything that you would like to leave, not just the audience, maybe companies that are listening, or maybe men in the industry, or, men that are coming up in the industry, like how to become good team players and how do we support our female coworkers? Like how can we coexist in this world where we're all trying to make money? I really don't think you have to be me or, sabotage people. It's like we can all of us can thrive as long as all of us are willing to put in the work. We can all thrive. So what would you leave leadership with, or companies with, or men in the workforce with? What is something you would want them to know?
I think the number one thing for corporations and men that are in those organizations, whether they're leaders or not, ask the women what they want, what they need, what's working, and what's not working. Most company gender equity efforts that are being created today, or that have been created over the course of the last 20 years, have been men creating programs for women without
Okay.
involving the women. And that's why they've not worked.
Oh, okay.
If we asked the women what they want, what they need, what's working and what's not working, we are then inviting those very people we are looking to lift into the process of lifting them up.
Mhm.
So don't just assume, oh, she needs this. Ask her. Ask her what you can do to help, and then listen and give it to her. Because every woman's going to have a different need. We don't all need the same thing. A lot of assumptions made, oh, well, we got to help women with the daycare, child daycare, because that's what's keeping them at home and keeping them from being successful. What about all the women that don't have children?
Mhm.
What about the women who are in their late 40s or 50s who aren't having children anymore and their kids are grown? It's not a one size fits all. So ask them what they need, listen to what they tell you, and then give them what they ask for. I think that's
Perfect. I think that is a perfect way to wrap this up. Dr. James, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you. Thank you for giving us this message. And I really think that a lot of people should have been taking notes, are going to need this. I can tell you I certainly did. And so I appreciate you. I will probably see you next time in a few weeks, mic drop. And I am looking forward to all the places and spaces you will be invited to. So I'm looking forward to you and your journey and just seeing you grow and wherever you go.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I
Of
truly
course, absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you
I
so
wish you
much.
the same success. I think you're absolutely amazing and you're on the right track. I think you're following your passion. Passion's a great thing to have as a leader. And for those of you that are out there that are going to try to find me, I can be reached at diana@secretstairs.com, or off my website, secretstairs.com. And I look forward to hearing from all those people and from watching you succeed.
Thank you.
And thank you again for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.